Hi, it's Bill Palmer here again, just doing another lesson for learnacousticlikeguitar.com, and what I'm going to talk about today is creative open chords. So, just to broadly define our topic, an open chord is really a chord shape that you're playing that has an open string in it. Okay, it could be 2 open strings, it could be 3 open strings, it could be 4, but really the only thing is it's got to have at least 1 open string in it. Okay, so as you can see, I'm in standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, E. So those are my open strings, and really the only prerequisite for any chord that I'll play that is an open chord is that it's got to contain at least one of those notes as part of the chord. So it kind of opens up the field a bit if you try and think of it that way rather than thinking of just kind of strictly chord shapes that you may know. And what I'll do is that I'll run you through a song that I wrote several years ago called Neurons from a Distant Sun, and that uses open lock position jazz chords or jazz chord voicings that use open strings. So you can check that out and let me know what you think. And yeah, but look, just to kick it off, I guess I'll play you through the little that song, and then we'll talk about some things. So here it is, and I'll just play it through at just normal speed, and then I'll break it down. Okay, so that's the little riff there. What I'm playing, just to sort of break it down, I'm playing B major 7, D major 7, G add 9, B flat add 9. I'm playing C major 7, excuse me, E flat major 7, A flat major 9, and then I'm ending on B major 7 again. Okay? What I've done there is that I've tried to use, where possible, I've tried to use some open strings to try and tie the whole thing together. Basically, as I was saying before, the only kind of prerequisite for an open chord is that the chord that you're playing has got to use at least one of these open strings here. Okay, so the first chord, which is a B major 7 chord that I played, normally you'll play that if I was to play it in a bar chord shape. So it's like an A major 7 shape that I play. And I move that up 2 frets using my first finger as a bar chord. All I did was I took off my pinky, and then I stopped barring down. I just had my first finger on fret 2 of the A string. So I've got fret 2 on the A, fret 4 on the D, fret 3 on the G. And I'm playing the open B string against that chord. So you get that nice sound of those 2 notes kind of ringing out. Okay, which is a like semitone interval. Okay, and then I move that whole shape up 3 frets to, it would now be a D major 7 if I was to play it as a bar chord shape. But I've just taken, I've just unbarred it obviously and taken my pinky off, and now what I get is a D major 9 add 6. So I'm playing the open high string and the open B string there. Then I move to a G, this is a G chord like that. If I drop this finger down to the G string, so fret 2 of the G, that will be a G add 9. And then if I take off my 3rd finger and my 4th finger, I'm just going to play the open B string and the open D string against it. Okay, so I'm playing fret 3 on the low E, open D, fret 2 on the G, open B string. Okay, then I move that shape up 3 frets, and I have to cancel out the B string because I'm playing a B flat type chord. And a B note against a B flat chord gives that sound. Not a very nice sound unless you're doing, I guess, kind of film soundtrack work, in which case you might quite like it. So I'm playing that chord there, which is really a B flat add 9. So I'm playing that. That's the rhythm there. So it's that note, fret 6 on the low E, open D, fret 5 on the G, and then fret 6 on the B. Then I go to a C major 7 chord, which is, C major 7 is like that, but you can also do it like that and add this finger onto the 3rd fret of the high string. And I just played this little riff there, okay? Then I move up to a C shape again, although this time I move this finger, I move it back as I'm playing. So I've got the open G string against that. It's basically a C chord moved up 3 frets, like so. Being careful not to play the low E or the high E. I'm just playing those middle 4 strings, but I'm playing the open G string, basically. Okay, my other chord shape is, you may recall it from the left hand like dexterity video, it's an A flat major 9. actually no like open strings in that, unfortunately. And then the last bit is the same as the first chord, although I just go back down. And I just slide into that little note there. So that's a little riff, but hopefully you can see there that it actually is possible to play a range of different chords using open strings to sound against them. And it really does give it a nice, very, you know, it's a really, I think it's quite like an individual type of sound. You're kind of getting away from playing your basic chord shapes, but you're not quite playing, you know, closed shapes. It's kind of that sort of in between sort of sound. Anyway, what you can do, just to kind of give you some ideas, I can take any chord shape, for instance, C, A, G, E or D, and I can experiment just by kind of moving them around and by dropping fingers or adding fingers. Just to show you what I mean, here's a G chord. Now if I take off, I'm playing by finger 2, finger 1, finger 3, finger 4. Okay, so I'm playing it's still a G chord, but I've added in, normally that's an open G chord there, with the kind of B string open. I'm playing the 3rd fret on the B string. Okay, now anyway, to get back to what I was saying, if I take off my pinky now, that becomes a G6 chord, okay, because the high E string is note 6 of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So that's a G6 chord. Again, that's an open chord. Now, if I was to move that up 3 frets to a B flat, normally B flat type chords, you play them as bar chords, okay? But you can play them in a range of different ways, okay? So I'll just show you how I can play a B flat chord using some open strings. What will work against a B flat chord, primarily, are the D string and the G string. High string will work, that's the sharp 11 of the scale. If you're in the key of F major, that'll work. Although normally if you're in the key of B flat major, that high string would sound a bit strange. So anyway, I'll just leave off that string, but if I was to play my G shape like this, okay, same as my G shape that I had back here, moved up here, sounds quite nice. Basically what I'm getting there, that D note, it's the same note as where my finger is here, and the G note is an added 6th, it's the note 6 from the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's a nice alternative to playing just a B flat bar chord. Okay, so if you play a G chord, moved up 3 frets. Nice sounding B flat chord, okay, without having to play a bar chord shape. I just use this G chord back here, the G6, as an example of that kind of 6 sound. That's a G6, B flat 6, like so, okay? You can also do some other things. I can drop this finger down to the G string, so it's on fret 5, and I'm just going to mute out this A string with this finger. And what I'm getting now is a B flat add 9. B flat 6, B flat add 9. Okay, if I take off my pinky, I get B flat add 9 sharp 11. Quite nice sound too. Okay, now the same thing can be done with our E flat chords. Here, sorry, our E flat. I'll be going to an E flat from a C chord. Here's a C chord. Now if I move that up 3 frets, that's an E flat type chord. Now I have to be careful I don't play the low E or the high E, because if I play those, again, not a very pleasant sound unless you're doing kind of film like soundtrack work. So move the C chord up 3 frets. I get a nice E flat type chord. Okay, obviously if I add my pinky, that's another way of doing a C. If I go to C here, add my pinky to the high string, it's still a C chord, but I've now gotten rid of the high string. I'm using the 3rd fret on the high string, which is a G note. So if I move that up 3 frets, quite a nice sound. The other way of playing a C is I can play the low E string. So I can go 3rd fret on the low E, 3rd fret on the A, 2nd fret on the D, and then it's called a C over G, or it's a C chord. You can also move that up 3 frets. Okay, very nice sound. A lot nicer than, say, playing an E flat as a bar chord, or here. Just depends what sort of sound that you're after. Okay, so it's just options really. Okay, the same thing can be done with my D chord. Here's a D chord here. what tends to happen with the D chords is that as I move them up, they tend to sound more like D chords, just because of the fact that I've still got this D note kind of ringing there. Okay, so the bottom three strings are called your bass strings. Okay, and they tend to sort of determine the flavour of the chord, and they tend to give the listener a sense of what's called the tonal centre. So if I've got a D bass note sort of sounding, and I'm playing different chord shapes above that, they tend to sound like types of D. Okay, so the D chords do still work. You have to be just, I guess, mindful of the fact that that you would have to sort of cancel out that D string. Anyway, the way that we do that, just to sort of show you, that's a D chord. If I was to play a bar chord as a D shape, I get that sort of shape there, which is quite involved. I'll just run you through it. I'm playing a D shape with my other three fingers, so if I was to play a D shape with those three fingers instead of these three, and then if I move that up and then compensate for the open D string by using my first finger, I get an E chord shape there, okay? Okay. Now, what I can do, obviously, I don't have to play all of those strings because it's an E chord shape. I might decide to take off, I'll just do that. Okay, see how I do that? So here's my D shape as a bar chord type shape. I've taken off this finger, but instead of leaving that shape like that, I've just refingered it like that. Okay, and that's still an E chord shape. Now I've got the open B string there, which is quite a nice sound. Now I can obviously move that around. I've just got to make sure that that open B string works with whatever chord I'm playing. So if I move it up one fret, that's a nice F chord. Okay, it's actually an F sharp 11. Move it up 2 frets to a G. Sounds quite nice. Okay, I can move it up again to an A type chord. I've also got the added advantage of an A chord. I've got the open A string to further reinforce that sound. Okay, so I'll just kind of recap what I've done so far. G chord shape. I've moved it up 3 frets so you've got a nice B flat. Okay. Obviously you can like experiment just kind of moving that around further. I mean, obviously if I go to fret 5, I get a nice A chord. Some of them don't sound as good because obviously see how on fret 4 here I've got a C sharp note. I get a little bit of a clash with that open D string. I mean, it's not too bad, but it can sound cool. The D note against that makes it an add 11 or an add 4, so it's an A add 4 or an A add 11, and the G note makes it a dominant 7th, so it's actually an A11 chord. Okay, it's G chord, A11, B flat 6. If I go to fret 7, that's a B chord. It's not going to sound too cool with the open D string or the open G string. Okay, so we'll leave that one off. C chord sounds nice. Fret 9 is not really going to work. That's a C sharp. So those notes, again, it's not a very nice sound. Fret 10 works well. Fret 11 actually works well. That's an E flat type chord. It's different. It's a little bit tense sounding because they've got this E flat here sounding against the D. That's one semitone away. It might be best to cancel out that D string and maybe drop your finger down here so you get an E flat 6. May not be the sound you're after, but it does definitely work. Okay, C chord shapes. I'll just kind of recap. Here's a C chord. I can move that up 2 frets. That gives me a D type chord. The open G and the open high work against that. I then went up 1 more fret to E flat. Be careful not to play the high string or the low string because it's an E flat type chord. So those E notes against the E flat will make it a bit of a jarring sound. And as I said, I can actually experiment with different types of C chord. I can do that C chord or I can do that C chord. Okay, that still works. If I go to fret 7, I get an E major chord with a G against it. Not a nice sound. Fret 8 works well. That's an F type chord. Nice sound. Nice sound. That's an F major 9. Up 2 frets again. G type chord works well. A flat can work well with that G. Let's just have a listen. Some of these chords sound better being picked rather than strummed, just because of the fact that you get these tense tense intervals, or these close intervals. And fret 12 will work nicely too, because that's an A type chord. Okay, fret 11 will work well. That's like a B flat type chord. Okay, and then the D shapes, I actually showed you those as well. I can move those around, so I showed you how to play a D chord as kind of like a bar chord, but then I sort of refingered it to get the open B string. So that's an E type chord, F type chord, G type chord, A type chord. B flat won't work because of the open B string. B will work nicely. Okay, C, sounds nice. C sharp with the B, well that'll be a C sharp dominant. It's kind of cool. Back to your D chord again, alrighty. I can also experiment with taking my finger off different ones of those too. That was D there. Take my pinky off, I get the open B. I could also take my third finger off and get the open high string. I'll just refinger that. Okay. Okay, and the same thing kind of works with your E chords as well. Okay, you can practice sliding those around. Here's an E chord. Move the first fret. Comes an F type chord. You may have heard that sort of sound in some Mexican type. That type of thing. It's that E chord moving up one fret. So that's E type chord. That's an F major 7 sharp 11. Okay, kind of may not be important for you to know all these names. They're just names. Okay, up one more fret. That's a nice F sharp, like dominant type chord. One more fret, G6 type chord. This will be an A flat type chord with the open B and the high. It's not really going to sound too flash. I'll just kind of skip that one. I'll go to fret 7. An A sus. Oh, sorry, an A add 9 type chord. If I go up another fret, that'll be a B flat type chord. Not a nice sound with the open B and the open high, so I'll miss that. B type chord will sound nice. Okay. One more fret, a C type chord. Nice sound with the open high and the AB. Next one's a C sharp type chord. Won't sound too cool with the open B, so I'll skip that. Next one's a D type chord. Okay, that does sound quite nice. So you've probably heard those kinds of things before. It's just moving the E shapes around. Okay, same thing works with your A shapes. Okay, you can sort of practice sliding those around. But hopefully that gives you an insight into creative open chord voicings. I'll have these transcribed for you in the notes. Yeah, there are lots of different ways that you can try and voice these things. It really just comes down to the fact that you're taking an existing chord shape, bar chord shape or open chord shape, and then you basically experiment with just taking off one finger, adding an open string here and there. It might take a bit of toing and froing if you're not too sure on what keys have what open strings in them or what keys have what notes. But you'll definitely hear if it sounds wrong. For instance, if I play G chord, moves up one fret, it does sound a bit strange, doesn't it? So you can definitely hear that. If you can't hear that, well, you may need to ask a friend or significant other to assist you there. But hopefully that makes sense. I'll have this transcribed for you. But just some ideas and some like creative open chord voicings to get you doing some songwriting or to to explore the high range of the neck. Okay, I'll see you next time, and thanks for listening. Speak then.